In 332 BC, a 23-year-old conqueror stood on an empty Egyptian beach and decided to build the world's greatest city. He inspired the greatest library and the tallest lighthouse in history. Both are gone, the city remains. Beneath modern Alexandria, the ancient city sleeps underwater, slowly sinking into the Mediterranean for 2,000 years. Greek columns, a lighthouse, a library. Cleopatra, Julius Caesar, the Arab conquest, Napoleon, 5 million people today. This is Alexandria. It sits between the Mediterranean and Lake Mareotis, the most strategically perfect coastal position in the ancient world. 2,300 years later, the city Alexander built on an empty beach is still here, on the same strip of Egyptian coast. Before Alexandria, this coast held only Rakotis, a small Egyptian fishing settlement, a quiet backwater of the pharaohs. The Egyptian coast was strategically invisible until you understood the narrow strip between the Mediterranean and Lake Mareotis. The island of Pharos sat 1 kilometer offshore, a rocky outcrop that would become one of the 7 wonders of the world. Egyptian fishermen had worked this coast for centuries, unaware the twin anchorages around Pharos were the most valuable harbor on earth. Persian soldiers had patrolled this coastline since Egypt's conquest in 343 BC. They would be the last occupiers before Alexander. The narrow strip between sea and lake was perfect for a city the entire ancient world could reach by ship. The Nile Delta spread to the east, Egypt's agricultural heartland, meaning any city on this coast could feed itself forever. Natural harbor, access to the Nile, Mediterranean shipping lanes, fertile hinterland. This site had everything. It just needed a city. Alexander arrived in Egypt in 332 BC, 23 years old, fresh from conquering Persia, about to make his greatest decision. Alexander stood on the coastal strip and decided immediately. This was the site. His architects had the plans drawn within days. The architect Dinocrates laid a perfect street grid across the empty coast. The first planned city in Egyptian history, legend says Alexander marked the city boundaries with grain. Birds ate it all. He took it as divine blessing. The city would feed the world. Construction began immediately. Egyptian laborers alongside Macedonian soldiers, laying foundations for the grid streets, the royal quarter, the harbor mole. The Heptastadion. A causeway 7 stadia long connecting the mainland to Pharos Island, created 2 harbors from one coast. Alexander named the city after himself, one of 17 Alexandrias he founded. This one would be the greatest by far. Alexander left Alexandria in 331 BC and never returned. He died in Babylon at 32, never seeing his greatest creation completed. Ptolemy brought Alexander's body to Alexandria, giving the city divine legitimacy and launching the dynasty that would build everything. The Ptolemaic dynasty ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years, and in that time built the greatest library and lighthouse in history. Ptolemy I established the library with one ambition: to collect every book written in every language from every nation on earth. Every ship entering Alexandria's harbor was searched for manuscripts. Ptolemy kept the originals. Copies were returned. The library grew with every tide. At its peak, the library held an estimated 700,000 scrolls, more written knowledge in one place than had ever existed before. Scholars from across the world were paid by the Ptolemaic state to study and translate. Knowledge was Alexandria's primary industry. Euclid wrote his Elements in Alexandria circa 300 BC, the most influential mathematics textbook in history, still taught 2,300 years later. Eratosthenes calculated Earth's circumference in 240 BC using shadow angles. He was accurate to within 2% in Alexandria, with a stick. The Torah was first translated into Greek, the Septuagint, in Alexandria, making scripture accessible to the entire Greek-speaking world. The Serapeum, a vast temple honoring the deity Serapis, combining Greek Zeus and Egyptian Osiris, was Alexandria's physical symbol of cultural fusion. Alexandria's harbor never slept. Ships from Carthage, Rome, Greece, Arabia, India, and Nubia loading and unloading simultaneously. The Mediterranean central hub. Canopus Street stretched 4 kilometers across Alexandria, the widest colonnaded avenue in the ancient world, lined with temples, markets, and every luxury. Alexandria had Greek, Egyptian, Jewish, and Syrian quarters, each with its own language and courts. 4 civilizations sharing one city. No ancient city matched Alexandria's scale. 300, 0 free residents, and as many again working alongside them. The ancient world's first megalopolis, the Ptolemaic family funded the library, the Mautian, and the Serapeum, not from generosity, but because knowledge and spectacle projected Mediterranean power. By 200 BC, Alexandria held 500,000 people, the largest city west of China, built on a beach 130 years before. The Pharos Lighthouse was completed around 280 BC, the most ambitious engineering project the Mediterranean world had ever attempted. It rose approximately 137 meters, taller than any building on Earth at that moment, rivaling the Great Pyramid in height. 3 tiers, square base, octagonal middle, circular top with fire and mirrors. Nothing in the ancient world was built like this. The fire at the top, amplified by mirrors, was visible 50 kilometers out to sea. Ships found Alexandria by this light. For every sailor approaching Alexandria after weeks at sea, the Pharos was the most reassuring sight in the ancient world. The library held 700,000 scrolls at its peak. Sophocles, Aristotle, and texts from India and Babylon that exist nowhere else on Earth. The library's scholars worked in rooms organized by subject: mathematics, astronomy, medicine, drama, law. The world's first academic departments. In one building, Archimedes studied in the Library of Alexandria as a young adult scholar, developing the mathematical methods that still bear his name. Ptolemy II ordered every manuscript entering Alexandria copied before the owner got it back. The library grew with every ship that docked. The Serapeum housed Alexandria's secondary library, the overflow collection, when the main library ran out of space. Knowledge filled the city. At sunset, the Pharos fire was lit. The twin harbors glowed. The royal palace burned with torches. The world's greatest city never truly slept. By 80 BC, Alexandria was second only to Rome in size, and perhaps the most learned and cosmopolitan city ever built. Caesar's fleet entered Alexandria's harbor in 48 BC, arriving in the world's richest city in the middle of an Egyptian civil war. Caesar's harbor fire of 48 BC may have destroyed some of the library's overflow manuscripts stored near the docks. The first great loss. The library's main collection was untouched, but what burned near the harbor that night has been debated by historians for 2,000 years. Cleopatra VII, the last of the Ptolemaic dynasty, met Caesar reportedly smuggled to him rolled inside a linen carpet. She spoke 9 languages, including Egyptian, the only Ptolemaic ruler in 250 years who learned the language of the people she ruled. Mark Antony gave Cleopatra 200 scrolls from Pergamum, attempting to replace what the harbor fire had damaged. History's most romantic library gift. Cleopatra and Antony planned an Eastern empire from Alexandria to rival Rome. The city glittered with ambition and imminent danger. The Battle of Actium, 31 BC. Octavian's fleet destroyed Antony and Cleopatra's combined forces. The Ptolemaic dream was over. Cleopatra VII died on August 12, 30 BC, the last pharaoh. 3,000 years of Egyptian royal rule ended. Octavian entered Alexandria, paid his respects at Alexander's tomb, and declared Egypt his personal possession, not a Roman province. His alone. Alexandria passed to Rome without a battle. Streets unchanged, library open, Pharos still burning. But 290 years of Ptolemaic rule were gone. Roman law forbade any senator from governing Egypt. The province was too wealthy to trust to the politically ambitious. Roman Alexandria was too ancient and sophisticated to simply become a Roman town. It absorbed Rome rather than the other way around. The library continued under Rome. Caesar himself, inspired by Alexandria, had planned a public library for Rome before his assassination. Philo of Alexandria merged Greek philosophy with Hebrew scripture in the 1st century AD. His texts would directly shape early Christian theology. Alexandria in 100 AD remained the Mediterranean's intellectual capital. Gnostic philosophers, Jewish scholars, Christians, pagan astronomers, and Egyptian priests, all in one city. The Jewish revolt of 115 AD devastated Alexandria's Jewish community. present since the founding, reduced in a single war, Hypatia was the most prominent intellectual in the late antique world. Mathematician, astronomer, philosopher, teaching adult scholars in her Alexandria lecture hall. In 391 AD, Theophilus ordered the Serapeum destroyed, the pagan temple stripped, its library ransacked, centuries of knowledge lost in days. The catacombs beneath Alexandria show the city perfectly. Greek gods wearing Egyptian headdresses alongside Roman portraits and ancient mummies, all in one underground tomb. Pompey's Pillar, still standing in Alexandria today, was the largest monolithic column in the Roman Empire, erected in 297 AD. By the 4th century, Alexandria was changing. Churches replacing temples, the library quieter, the Jewish quarter sparse, still magnificent, but visibly transforming. Byzantine Alexandria was a deeply religious city. Coptic Christianity taking deep root, churches rising on the foundations of ancient temples. And what actually happened to the library? It didn't end in one catastrophic fire. It faded over centuries through neglect, underfunding, and religious conflict. The Pharos Lighthouse still burned under Byzantine rule, still guiding ships, still the most impressive structure on the Mediterranean coast, now 900 years old. The Arab general Amr ibn al-As crossed the Sinai in 639 AD with 4,000 soldiers, ending 1,000 years of Greek-speaking rule over Egypt. Amr's siege lasted over a year. The city surrendered in September 642 AD, ending 1,000 years of Hellenistic rule over Egypt. And did the Arabs destroy the library? The story was written 500 years after the event. Most scholars now believe it was largely already gone. Arab scholars engaged with Alexandria's surviving manuscripts, Coptic, Greek, and Arab academics working together in the early Islamic period, preserving what remained. When the Arab capital moved to Fustat, Alexandria lost its role as Egypt's primary city for the first time in 1,000 years. The Coptic Christian community continued under Arab rule. Churches open, priests still serving, the ancient faith of Egypt surviving under Islamic administration. By 700 AD, Alexandria still functioned. The Pharos still stood after 1,000 years, but quieter, smaller, no longer the center of anything. Islamic Alexandria built mosques among ancient columns, minarets rising where Greek temples stood, Arabic replacing Greek on the market signs. Medieval Alexandria remained an important trading port. Arab vessels alongside Italian ships from Genoa and Pisa, trading spices and textiles as always. The Pharos stood for 400 years, surviving every conquest and every earthquake. Arab traveler Ibn Battuta saw it still standing in 1326 AD. Italian merchants from Venice and Genoa established trading posts in Alexandria's harbor, the same docks where Ptolemy sought manuscripts from every nation. The 1303 earthquake damaged the Pharos, the beacon that guided Mediterranean ships for 1,600 years, finally crumbling in a single night. In 1323, a second earthquake finished the Pharos. The seven wonder that guided a civilization for 1,600 years was gone. In 1477, Sultan Qaitbay built a fortress on the Pharos ruins, using the lighthouse's own stones. The seven wonder became a fortress. The citadel of Qaitbay still stands today, a 15th century fortress built from the stones of one of the seven wonders of the world. Under Ottoman rule, Alexandria was a quiet provincial port, surviving, still trading, but a fraction of the city that once held 500,000. By 1798, 8,000 people lived where Alexander planned a city for 1 million. The ancient world's greatest metropolis had become a village. Napoleon arrived on July 1, 1798 with 400 ships, 34,000 soldiers, and 167 scholars and scientists. He brought a library to Egypt. Napoleon's 167 scholars systematically documented Egypt for the first time, measuring, sketching, and recording everything from Alexandria's ruins to the Nile's course. A French soldier near Alexandria found the Rosetta Stone in 1799. The same text in 3 scripts, the key to ancient Egyptian writing. Admiral Nelson destroyed Napoleon's fleet at Aboukir Bay in 1798, stranding the French army in Egypt and turning the campaign to failure. Muhammad Ali, the Ottoman governor, began modernizing Egypt from 1805, transforming Alexandria from a village of 8,000 into a modern Mediterranean city. By 1850, Alexandria had grown from 8,000 to over 100. Zito people, the fastest population growth in the 19th century Mediterranean. The Suez Canal opened in 1869. Alexandria became one of the most important ports on Earth overnight, the gateway between Europe and Asia. Early 20th century Alexandria was the Arab world's most cosmopolitan city. Greek, Italian, Jewish, British, and Egyptian communities sharing one Mediterranean port. In Daru II, Alexandria was the Royal Navy's primary Mediterranean base, the harbor that launched Ptolemaic warships now home to British destroyers. After Egyptian independence in 1952, Alexandria's Greek, Italian, and Jewish communities departed within a decade. The city's cosmopolitan character left with them. The Corniche, Alexandria's seafront promenade, was built through the 1950s and 60s. The city reclaimed the Mediterranean as its defining public space. In the 1990s, archaeologists diving in the Eastern Harbor discovered the drowned Ptolemaic royal palace. Columns, sphinxes, and statuary on the seabed. Cleopatra's palace, where she received Caesar and Antony, lies 6 meters beneath Alexandria's harbor today. Still there, still waiting. Ptolemaic columns, Cleopatra's palace stones, and royal sphinxes lie on the seabed of Alexandria's harbor. An ancient city drowned in its own bay, the Bibliotheca Alexandrina opened in 2002, a circular modern library on the eastern harbor, near the site of the ancient original. The Bibliotheca Alexandrina holds 8 million books and seats 2,000 scholars, built to honor what was slowly lost over 2,000 years. The citadel of Cape Bay stands where the Pharos once burned, built from the lighthouse's own stones, still guarding the same harbor. Alexandria at night in 2026. The Bibliotheca glowing, the citadel floodlit, 5 million people where Alexander once stood on an empty beach, the same Mediterranean coast, the same narrow strip between sea and lake. The geography Alexander saw in 332 BC is unchanged in 2,300 years. Alexander chose this coast because it was perfect. 5 million people agree with him in 2026. Some choices are permanent,